So, hello, we're back with episode 4 of The Dead of Winter. And what have I got to tell you? Well, thank you for watching. And thanks to our illustrious players for joining us again. And we're going to start tonight, continuing in Leningrad in Russia, 1929, on the morning of the second day that the investigators are there. But before we carry on, we have a little update to do, which is a reminder that this is a playtest of a new campaign that isn't published yet. And part of the process of playtesting is to make sure that things work and identify where things aren't working and look to how we might resolve them. And one of the things that's come to light is the campaign, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, that the campaign, one of the things with the investigators being visited by these ghostly figures, these persons from the investigators' past that are dead, but are seemingly back here in the real world, is the ongoing effect that they're having on the investigators. And that's that has been kind of described as a weekly or a daily, it started off as daily, I changed it to weekly, sanity loss, because there's these kind of constant reminders of these visits from these dead people. There's these strange dreams and overall effect it's having on the characters that's kind of slowly draining their sanity. And I moved it from a daily to a weekly because I felt daily was too severe and would, especially at the start of the scenario, hinder the characters too much. And I've now come to the conclusion that actually weekly is too much and we shouldn't be doing that at all. And in fact, should only really be applying sanity loss as appropriate when a visitor's happened. So that's kind of my rethinking of that whole kind of sanity thing with the investigators. So that's my, just to kind of update everyone that is kind of my thinking in terms of the playtest. And I'll revisit this along the way, but that's really where I'm thinking of it now. So that's what we'll do. But also to remind everyone that they have already lost quite a lot of sanity to the various visits. So in fact, I think just about everyone is nearly immune to further sanity loss from their visitors. Certainly Francis is, I believe, and Eleanor. But maybe Georgina and Maxime have maybe 1 or 2 points they could lose. But also to say that can change, as they get used to things. When things come again, sometimes that can resolve in further sanity loss. But so, just to be aware that can happen. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to do at the start of this is just for any people that are joining us first time tonight or want a bit of a recap on who's playing who. I was going to ask everyone if you could just go around and just introduce your character very briefly and maybe give a kind of a, what's your character's kind of sudden thoughts at this time, at this point in the campaign? What's maybe has affected them most, or what are they thinking, or what's their intentions, or whatever it may be, whatever you want to shout out about how your character is at this point in the campaign. So I'm just going to look along the order that you're on my screen. So I'm going to say Lynne, then Jema, then Becky, then Jayson. If you can just give a quick intro to your characters, starting with Lynne. Thanks.
Okay. Well, my character is Francis Ball. He's a 36-year-old private investigator, originally from Cardiff, but spent most of his adult life in London, where he was effectively raised by his Uncle Harry. Unfortunately, his Uncle Harry was killed in a car crash a little over a year ago, or it might be a couple of years ago now. And, well, that was up until the point he started reappearing just before this whole Russian nonsense started. So, being a friendly sort, being a curious sort, obviously as a private investigator and ex-policeman, Francis is intrigued by Harry's appearance, very confused by it, still not entirely certain why he's come to Russia, but hopeful that he's going to get some answers out of it, and really wants to know what that loon was on about in terms of all this time travel nonsense.
Okay.
I'm playing Georgina Sullivan, who's a sculptor with a lovely studio in Hampstead Heath. And she was rather well, very distressed last year when her fiance died in mysterious circumstances, presumably after a drug overdose at a party, but you know, it was all a bit strange. And yes, he suddenly started turning up again as well, which was amazing and made her very happy. And then he'd disappear again, and that was not so good. So having had this invitation to Russia to investigate further, there is a lady who claims that she knows what's going on, maybe, and the opportunity to study Russian art and culture is not one to be passed up, as it's a rather strange and mysterious place currently, with all sorts of restrictions and modernization and lots of weird and wonderful things happening over there. So yeah, things are getting very strange, and Georgina's not entirely sure what's real and what isn't, and she's kind of going with the flow whilst in her bohemian manner drawing a lot and taking many sketches of places and things along the way.
Excellent.
Well, I'm Eleanor Wright. I'm a journalist, you know. I write for, you know, a newspaper, and so the Herald, I think it was. It doesn't matter now. I'm not there. I'm on this in Leningrad or something. Anyway, I got recruited by the British Secret Service. You know, I don't think I'm a very good spy, but anyway, I am a journalist, and I was visited. I was by my brother Mark. He was a lieutenant in the army in the Great War, 9th of August 1918. I will never forget the date. It was the first day of the Battle of Amiens, and that's when he was killed. And I will walk through hell to get him back. Or in this case, Russia, which is a little nicer than hell, I believe. Certainly colder.
Okay, thank you.
Dramatic pause when I found the mute button. I am playing Maxime Lawrence Elliot. I am a dilettante in his late 20s. He was visited by a good friend of his. They befriended each other at university, and after their exams were done and they were all sort of starting to leave and part ways, his friend committed suicide by hanging. The first couple of times he visited him, he was very hostile. He couldn't believe it. He didn't want to believe it. And he's slowly coming around to it. And he's slowly feeling a lot of guilt coming through that he couldn't help. And he couldn't intervene, and he should have done with his death. At the moment, he's trying to take in all the art and culture of Russia, which is sort of keeping him grounded. But after this encounter with this rather estranged gentleman on the bench, spouting all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff, he now doesn't know what to think, and he's kind of spiraled out of control a bit again, taking a lot of alcohol, not sleeping well, etc.
Okay, so just a very thanks for that. Just a very quick recap on last week's episode. Jema, you were going to regale us with what did you do last time?
On our holidays, we did. Okay, so we started off. We are currently we were on board ship on our way to Russia, and we were taking the air on deck. It was quite delightful, and a horrible, monstery, creaturey, persony thing leapt from behind, a weird, misshapen form, and sort of attacked us. Advanced menacingly upon us. Maxime fought it off with a sword stick, and Francis struck a killing blow with a penknife. A doctor did a fabulous autopsy, although the body seemed to be disintegrating very fast, which was a bit weird. It seemed to be, I don't know, it smelt disgusting. We finally arrived in Leningrad. Everyone there looked tired and miserable. We were staying in a very exciting hotel. It's clean and comfortable, but not exactly plush. The concierge is called Evgeny, who concierges are wonderful, aren't they? They can get you anything. He's bound to be able to get us all sorts of useful stuff. We went on a walking tour after we'd been given a note asking us to meet someone in Alexander Gardens. So we went to the Gogol statue and met a very strange chap called Andrei Gollivant, who gave us a newspaper dated from the future, wittered on about an ocean liner, the Cunard White Star, and the wizard Krylov. He seemed to think that he'd been sent back from the future, forward in the future. I don't know. He was rambling and talking, as we thought, nonsense. But he has promised to meet us again today and give us more and hopefully slightly more coherent information at the Palace of Labour Chess Club. So we are going to the fabulous ballet, and then we shall go and, oh no, we went to the ballet and Maxime chatted up a ballerina, or a ballerina chatted him up.
It was
Yes,
a perfectly civilized
the fabulous
conversation.
Oksana. It was just a conversation, of course it was, Maxime. So yes, that's kind of where we're at, really. Getting a little bit twitchy about being followed by people who have probably been set on us by, I don't know, the secret police or something. It's all getting a little bit sinister, but without much actual clarity. So hopefully we will find out a bit more from Andre at the chess club. That's our exciting plan.
Excellent. Okay. So it is morning, day 2 of your stay in Leningrad. And the itinerary for today, which you can follow or choose to ignore as you see fit, is a tour around... oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page. Yeah, you did a tour to the Peter and Paul Fortress across the Never on the Equality Bridge, and to see the big cathedral and some other sites around the city. And then this afternoon, the tour would continue to the south and western edge of the city, past the Cathedral of the Trinity, and onto a rubber factory, which will be probably quite exciting, I imagine. Then you're back later in the afternoon to the city centre to see the Stroganov Palace and various sites like that. The evening tonight, you may want to catch your breath because it is a free evening. So that's your official itinerary for today. You do have your unofficial meeting with Golovin at the chess club, which he said to be there at 6 o'clock tonight. So you'll need to decide, if you're all going to that or some of you, and if anything else you want to do that day other than the official itinerary.
Well, I do love a cathedral. I'm always up for sketching some stained glass and some interesting things, but I have to say the rubber factory sounds dreadfully dull. Well, it does,
doesn't it?
It's not quite the bohemian. It's not really the bohemian joy. I was kind of, I think maybe I was overly optimistic about, colourful Russian peasants working in the fields and how I'd sketch them.
Well, I think I'd definitely like to go to the chess club, just because I want to hear what this idiot's going to say next. But I think I'd like to go and have a look at some of the cathedrals, but rubber factory, not really. It's not exactly exciting, is it?
Yes, it sounds like an awfully noisy affair to me.
I think I'll skip the tour in the morning, but I'd like to see the Stroganoff Palace maybe this afternoon, and of course I'll come to the chess club. That is intriguing, and so forth. Perhaps I'll do some writing this morning. I've been writing a book about my experiences, well, fictionalized, you understand.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating.
Well, it gave me a lot of inspiration when my first meeting with Mark, and I just felt that I could write again. So I've been doing that, and I haven't got very far. I've been so distracted with this boat. Perhaps I could take the morning to catch up with some ideas.
Excellent. Okay, so the three of you are going to go out on the morning tour, certainly, while Eleanor taps away on the portable typewriter. I presume you've bought, or
Either
are
that
you
or a notepad or
a notepad? Either way, okay. I ask these things just in case you then decide to attack someone with a portable typewriter, which could be more damage than a pencil. So
not from my hands. No, I wouldn't be able to lift it.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so this morning, as I say, you are conducted to the Peter and Paul Fortress, reached by walk across the Quality Bridge. You see the cathedral with its 120-meter tower and the Catherine Curtin fortification, which your guide Popov explains was used to house political prisoners after the Decemberist uprising of 1825. And then it was used to house members of the Land and Freedom Group. And then it was used to house the People's Freedom, later the Social Democrats and Social Revolutionaries and various other people that needed to be kept out of the way. And you do get a chance to look around some of the cells, which are all suitably dour and
this is bringing back memories of my days as a policeman.
Slightly depressing, but nevertheless, it's an interesting seeing the sites, both the high culture and the less high culture on this particular part of the tour. Then later on, you move south and west to past the Cathedral of the Trinity and its 5 massive painted domes, and you're guided through the Krasny Tregulinik. There you are guided towards there, which is the rubber factory, which is at which point some of you may decide to stop and not continue on the tour. Around about this time, as you probably are loitering outside the rubber factory, thinking of whether to go back to the hotel or go find a coffee or something or a bite to eat, let's have a spotting roll.
First roll of the evening. Here we go.
But I've already ticked spot hidden.
And that would be a no.
Oh, I passed anyway. Cool.
That would very nearly be a fumble, but thankfully isn't.
Okay.
Good success from me. Good one.
Okay, so Georgina and Maxime both successful. You realise that you have been, well, I don't know if you've been followed, but certainly you've seen a couple of chaps pretty much most of the day, and now you kind of standing around, you kind of clock them and think, yeah, no, they have been following us. I'm pretty certain of it. It's not the same pair that were noticed yesterday. Instead of the thin-faced man and the kind of rotund man with a moustache, this time it's a pair. One is a kind of tall and thin, taller than the thin man yesterday, much more kind of spindly, and a kind of an average, size black bloke with a big kind of bushy beard. So they're noticeably different to the pair that were following you yesterday, but they definitely seem to be following you today. They're not, they are at a distance. They're not, doing anything, but you feel pretty certain they are keeping an eye on the tour group. But the reason I'm making the roll now is because you get the sense that they have taken interest in you, rather, because the tour group has now moved into the factory and you're still outside. Maybe they're waiting for the tour to come out. No, So, but you kind of, with your heightened sense of paranoia, think that they may be watching you, but you can't be 100% sure.
Maxime, have you managed to get anywhere finding this person that your mum asked you to look up? Because that is in Leningrad, isn't it?
Well, somewhere, or at least somewhere nearby. No, we've been on this whirlwind tour. I've not really had much time to think, really. So much.
I mean, certainly you've
got in so many sites.
You have got a few hours before 6 o'clock if you did want to take an excursion to try and find Sophia and your look up in Leningrad if you wish.
I suppose we could take a walk, see if we can find any leads for them.
Okay.
But I would certainly love some food. I'm starving.
Okay. Well, you could maybe grab a bit of lunch and maybe ask directions from somebody in the cafe or restaurant that you go to. Perhaps give you a lead on that. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Eleanor, it's around about now, early afternoon. You're kind of deep in thought with your writing, and there's a gentle tap at the door to your hotel room.
Mark, and I run to the door.
Okay, you run to the door, presuming you're opening it.
Oh yeah, flies open.
And you see Yevgeny, the concierge, stood there outside, so you're slightly disappointed. But he says, I wonder if I might have a word.
Well, yes. Go on.
You and your comrades were very generous to me yesterday, and I thought it only fair to look out for your best interests. As Leningrad can be a dangerous place at times. There are two gentlemen who are currently standing outside the hotel. They approached me about a half an hour ago, asking specifically about your rooms, yourself and your fellow travelers. I think they are Secret Service, but I caught a whiff of the gutter from them. If you understand me, they looked opportunist, and I fear that while they may have legitimate reason to keep abreast of foreign visitors to our land, their thoughts may extend to robbery and so forth. I put them off and said that you were all in your rooms currently. I'm aware that it is only you here, so that's why I'm coming to let you know. I have told them you are in the rooms, and they have gone outside and are watching from a cafe nearby. But I just wanted to let you know, and if there's anything I can do to help,
yes,
then I am at your service.
Would you happen to have keys for the other rooms, my friends' rooms?
Yes, I can get to those keys. Yes.
Thank you, and I'll give them a tip.
Okay. He says, but for now, I should just hold them off, as it were.
I'd like to have the keys to my colleagues' rooms, because if they're going to get robbed today, it's as well that I move their stuff into my room where I am.
That's a very wise precaution, and yes, I'll be back momentarily with the keys, and we can certainly remove anything that might be of interest.
Thank you.
So he disappears off, and he does come back quite shortly after with a master key for the various rooms, and he can't give you the key, but he will open the door for you.
Yeah, and I'll just grab personal possessions from my friends, and I'm not going to look at them per se. I'll just chuck them in their cases and move their cases into my room.
Okay.
I'll give them a tip again when we're done. And then after he's gone, I sit down on my bed and I'm like, should my character be a spy?
Okay, great. Okay, fair enough. Okay, we move back to the cafe. You've had a nice little lunch, and you're now. So, do you want to go and look up Sophia? Is that the plan, or have you changed your mind?
I'll have a check to see if the two men have indeed followed us. I haven't been wanting to urgently seek this person out, but I'm more than happy to use it as a cover in case we do bump into them, to try and seem legitimate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can get directions to where Sophia is, which I'm just finding now.
I mean, we could split up. If you think you're being followed and you don't want to be followed to your friend's house, then maybe
we can certainly act as a distraction. Yes.
Yeah, maybe if I went back to the hotel to continue doing some sketching, they might follow me
That's a very good point.
rather than
Yes.
you.
Yep, and I can certainly see if I can lead, because if we can get one to follow you, Miss Sullivan, and then one to maybe follow me, divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
Well, then I owe the both of you a drink.
Well, I hope you find your mother's friend, and that she's in health.
Me too.
Okay.
So
so the two of you are going to try and cause a distraction for Maxime to hopefully visit Sophia unfollowed. Is that basically? Yeah.
I'm going to try and go one way to the hotel. Francis will go the other, and hopefully these two guys one will follow me and one will follow Francis.
Okay. Could I have a look roll from Francis and Georgina then, please?
Righty-tighty, let's have a look.
Think big.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Very, very good luck.
Okay, you make I guess you both make a bit of a palaver of leaving the restaurant to be, suitably noticed, and then, loud kind of goodbyes. I see, I'm going this way, whatever it may be, and you both head off. And after about 5 minutes, you both notice that one of the two is following you. So presumably the trick worked. Maxime, you get, with your reasonable, Russian language skill, you ask for some directions. You have an address, and you find that it is a bit of a walk, but you can certainly make good time to get there. And apparently it's in the shadow of the Baltic railway station. You could catch a taxi if you like, but certainly you could get a taxi back from the sounds of it if you need to on timing. You eventually arrive at the address, and it's a gracious kind of older house amongst several kind of post-revolutionary housing blocks that are more brutal in their design. There's the door, and your impression at looking at the kind of facade is that this probably was once a house for one family, but from the look of the windows, I think it looks like maybe multiple people or families live in there now, in terms of how the washing is out and on some windows and others are not, and so it's more down at heel, I guess, in that respect.
Okay.
So how do you want to play? Do you want to just go up and knock on the door, or anything else?
Well, yes, essentially I'll probably look through a window if I can reach one, but yeah, I'll definitely find the right number, give a good firm knock with my cane.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay. you can't see much through you can't see much through. You can see through a few of the windows. You can kind of make out there are people inside. You can see beds in what you would consider to be like sitting rooms or lounges. There are they look now like bedrooms, like kind of hastily converted to some degree. So that kind of confirms your kind of idea that there are, more than just a family living here. You give the door a knock, and a middle-aged man kind of answers the door and looks at you and smiles. And yes.
Oh, good afternoon, sir. I'm terribly sorry to disturb you. This may seem a little out of the ordinary, but I have come all the way from London, essentially to look for somebody named Sophia Lebedva. Have you heard of her?
Yes. 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 One moment, and you hear some kind of calling going on back inside the house, and this very dainty and delicately featured young lady arrives at the door, saying that someone was asking for me. I am Sophia. Who are you?
Sophia. Well, it's a bit of a long story, but I was just saying to this gentleman here, I've come all the way from London to find you. My mother, Tatiana, she had a home nearby here, and your mother, Daria, was her maid. And she has asked me to come and find you and see if we can make contact.
She's like, her mouth kind of drops open, and she like astonished, and she's, yeah, come inside. And she kind of pulls you inside, thanks. And takes you past various inhabitants of this building, and into the back and up a stairway to her room. She as she kind of gets in, she says, "You must forgive. The Bolsheviks have opened up these big houses and put many families in where there were not before, and we have to make do with what we have. But please come into my room." And her room is quite crowded. There's 2 beds and 2 more bed rolls, but it's literally kind of all of her things in one room, basically. Her, I presume you're speaking in Russian.
Yeah.
So she continues in Russian, and she's obviously asks you everything about your mother and her mother, and all that kind of back stuff. Gets sits you down and makes you a drink of something, and is happy to kind of pass the time. Is there anything particular you wanted to bring up or say?
I suppose what it was like for her growing up. He's very interested in that.
Okay. She says it was all wonderful, and then the Bolsheviks came, and now it's less wonderful. And then she starts to cry, and she says, "Daria has been disappeared for 2 years, and we think my mother is dead." You can tell by now that although Sophia is very kind of classically beautiful in terms of features and so on, that she clearly isn't in full health. She coughs intermittently. Her eyes are now, in the light, you can see they're more drawn and kind of weathered features. Clearly, for someone her age, she should be kind of more, youthful, beaming, and all that kind of thing. But she clearly isn't well, I guess, is your main kind of. And I don't know if you're not No, you're not really a doctor, are you? So yeah, she's just
No.
painfully thin, I think is probably what you would say.
Okay.
She explains that she works as a nanny, a housekeeper, and a cook for two separate Bolshevik families. And that as she said, there's a lot of people now living in the house. And another group just arrived the other day from Buziluk, and she then kind of talking about her mother, she says, I fear I will be arrested too.
What do you mean arrested too?
Well, I think my mother was taken by the OGPU. One of my roommates, I'm sure, is in the OGPU, and I think they're an informant, and I don't think they like me very much, and I think they're just gonna say something and cause me for me to be taken as well. She probably just makes something up.
Well, that's
I could be exiled or prisoned. I mean, my two closest friends, Slava and Rebecca, they've gone missing like my mother. This happened a month ago. I think any day they will come for me now.
Oh my goodness. Oh, but it seems so ridiculous. You're an honest family. From what my mother has told me about Daria, she was a very lovely lady. She's a lovely lady.
But that counts for nothing here. If I'm considered an enemy of the state, then my past will not be thought of. I will just be taken and taken to Siberia or thrown away in a dungeon or something. I hear all stories, and this is your being here is so unexpected. It must be a sign. Can you help me?
Well, look, and he sort of goes into his jacket pocket, gets out sort of a checkbook, and says, "How much do you need to leave this place?"
I fear the money will not take me far. I need travel papers. I can't get them. I need the British to take me to give me the papers and to give me a new home, like your family did.
Okay, I can see what I can do. I will certainly speak to some people, but obviously time is not on our side. Would it be possible if I get back to you in a day or two?
Whenever you can, your help would be most gratefully received. And I understand these things may take time, and I will, I pray that I will be here. And but if you are, if you feel you could perhaps take me with you when you leave the city, perhaps being with you, a traveling companion, and then if you could get me papers, then that would help, wouldn't it?
It would, yes. I mean, I'd love you to come with us.
Well, good. I will not say anything to anyone, and I will pack some things ready for whenever you call.
Okay, wonderful. I will do what I can, see if I can speak to anybody about getting a head start with these papers for you. I will do my best.
God shines upon you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. It's a plethora of thank yous, and as you kind of somewhat embarrassed, kind of eventually kind of managed to get out the house. Clearly, as you kind of I don't know. Maybe you're gonna go. Are you gonna grab a taxi back to the hotel or walk it? Or
Yeah, I take a minute outside. I kind of sort of put my head back against the wall and go, God, what have I done? No. She's it's going to be awful for her if she stays. But yes, I then kind of go out to the main road, hail a taxi.
okay, yeah, you're near the railway station, so there are cabs nearby, as it were. So so that's easy enough. As you are driving back, in terms of getting papers, you're unless you obviously you've got a lead with Mr. Weston, who you are supposed to be meeting in Moscow. So maybe maybe he could pull strings. Is kind of would be probably the most useful thought you could have. I mean, you could try indirectly at the British Embassy, but your gut will tell you that Weston is probably more useful here than anyone else who doesn't know you in that respect, because technically you are here at Weston's request, so he owes you a favor, at least, I guess. So
how long until we meet him again? Is it a couple of days?
Yeah, you'll be heading to Moscow in another couple of days, I think. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
not too long.
Yeah, the embassy.
Obviously, you've got to decide whether you want to take Sophia with you to Moscow before you see Weston, or whether you want to leave her and come back, or tell her what you're doing. Just think about what you want to do, really. Yeah,
I'll discuss it with the others first before I make any big decision like that.
Okay. So meanwhile, Georgina and Francis have circuitously made their way back to the hotel, and you wander into the lobby. Let's say more or less around the same time. By the time one of you sort of got in and said hello to Yevgeny, and who's caught you and said, and kind of basically repeats what I said to Eleanor, and says, that there were some men looking. I advised your friend, Miss Wright, and she asked to go into your rooms to take your things into her room. You see, and he kind of surreptitiously kind of points to a cafe over the road where there's these two blokes sat there over their coffee, because these two men were asking questions and so on. And by the time he said that, whoever's not there is now there, and he kind of says the same thing again. But as you kind of look back at the two blokes, you see that the two blokes who were following you have joined them. So there's 4 people sat around the table now in the cafe opposite. Anyway, he says, I'm at your service. If you wish anything from me, please don't hesitate to ask, and I will do what I can to help.
Thank him and give him a tip.
Yeah, he just kind of genuinely sort of says, I've held them off. But I can't do it 24 hours a day. At some point, they're going to, try and get into your rooms, but I need to know what you want me to do about that, basically. And
do you have a safe, Yevgeny? Do you have like a hotel safe here?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, well, that's worth knowing, so we can always put that valuables in there just in case.
Yeah. Okay. So you head back to. I don't know if you want to pop in on Eleanor on the way.
Yes, might as well go and make sure she's all right. Actually, if these roughs have been hanging around outside.
Okay.
How's the novel?
As I open the door to them, the room behind me is awash with torn up paper.
Well, novel's going very well then.
Yes. I had this silly notion that this character would be a spy, and I was going to call it Janet Bond, and it was, in my mind, it was great, but on paper it was terrible. She was just a man-hater. No, I threw that away. I've started again. I'm sticking to the facts, but fiction. It works so much better.
Well, maybe you just need to kind of, let the ideas percolate for a little bit. That's what I do with my art. You might come back to that as a concept.
I get antsy when I know that I'm here to help Mark and I can't, and he's not here and I haven't spoken to him and I'm not making progress.
No, I know. It's very frustrating. But we have got our our meeting with the chap at the chess club this evening.
Yes, now, I took all your things. We need to know where to put them. If everyone's going, we'll have
Yes.
to find somewhere to hide everything.
Well, Ivenia says that there's a hotel safe. So if you have any valuables, I think maybe like our money and passports and things should probably go in there.
Yes, of course.
And anything valuable, like obviously the notes for your novel.
Well, I carry them with me, of course.
Oh, much safer.
Yes, but still, I don't like the idea of them entering our rooms.
Well, no, especially not while we're sleeping in them. Maybe we should share a room again, Eleanor.
Maybe we should hire another room.
Or ask you.
We could hire an additional room in a different name.
That's a thought.
Oh, we could wear disguises.
Let's not get too enthusiastic. I mean, I think another room might be a good idea, but, you know, a bad disguise is almost as obvious as just not bothering at all.
Yes, Francis, you are the expert in this after all. What would you suggest?
I think getting another couple of rooms, one for you ladies and one for myself and Maxime, under a different name, and keeping our things in there, and sleeping in there would probably be a good idea.
You hear a
Obviously, we've
knock
got-
at the door.
Oh, saunter over, just making sure I've got my hand on the penknife, just to be on the safe side, and open it.
Yevgeny is outside the door and says, "Oh, I see you are all together." As he looks over your shoulder, might I have a word in confidence?
Yes, of course. Miss Wright, is it all right to ask him in?
Well, of course, we're all here.
I've asked the bellboys to keep an eye on those fellows, but I can't ask them to confront them. That would be going beyond what I could ask them to do. But I had thought of an idea. I can show you the staff staircase, and that would allow you to exit the hotel without being seen at the front, and access your rooms in the same way, which I thought might be of use to you. I could also, when the men, if I'm aware of the men entering, I can telephone up to your rooms to advise you, and I could send two of my larger hotel staff to perhaps help if the men were caught red-handed, so to speak. As obviously before then, I have no reason to turf them out the hotel, if you understand.
Very thoughtful, Yvonne. Very thoughtful indeed.
I try to do my best from my guests, as you understand.
Of course.
You might have another couple of rooms that we could hire.
Yes, I can certainly look into that. Yes.
So we could perhaps have one for us ladies and one for the gentlemen, just, you know, so that we feel a little bit safer. And then, yes, if these traps are caught red-handed, then...
Yes, I'm afraid you would have to pay for the extra rooms, of course.
That's fine, I can take care of it.
Yeah.
This is important.
You're not there, but that's okay.
Apologies, I wasn't sure. You said all of you.
They will no doubt be thinking that anyway. So
Yeah.
Maxime can pay for
the
it.
voice in their head
Bill.
just told them yes, not a problem.
So
Yes.
Maxime.
Okay, so Yevgeny will sort out a couple of other rooms on another floor, unless you want them on the same floor.
I think another floor would probably be safer.
Okay. Okay, so he arranges that, and he says, "Do you want me to ring up and send the bellboys coming if the men enter the hotel,
That would be
or do you want to deal with this
Yes.
situation yourself?"
No, I think some help from the bellboys might be quite useful, actually. Because obviously this is myself and Maxime, but couldn't expect the ladies to get involved, really. Not that I'm saying they couldn't look after themselves, but
No, I really can't.
Okay. Okay, so the plan is concocted. About 20 minutes later, Yevgeny appears again with 2 keys for 2 rooms and well, basically like an invoice. Basically, this is what you'll be paying later, which is unfortunately a little bit more than you paid for the rooms you have, but you know, them's the breaks. So you have a couple of rooms on the floor, next floor up. He shows you where the staff staircase is at the rear of the hotel, and explains you can go all the way up and all the way down and out through the staff exit at the rear of the hotel. Very useful for not being seen, he says, with a knowing wink. And
oh dear.
And then he does loiter a bit outside the new rooms, and while he's after he's helped you to move all your luggage into them, but he then waits outside, smiling.
Time for another tip. Yes.
Is it a normal tip or is it a large tip?
I'm going to go for a large tip because he is going out of his way to help us.
Definitely above and beyond. He can have a large tip.
Okay, it's probably he's extremly pleased, and anything at all you need, anything at all, just ask for me. So there you are. About an hour later, this is about 5 o'clock now. Maxime is now back, who because Yevgeny is upstairs sorting you like that. Maxime, you just wander into the hotel, you don't get stopped, you wander up to your room and find it's nothing there.
Hell are my things?
You've been robbed.
I actually genuinely do like come out of my room, start trying to find somebody. I've been robbed.
Okay, so a hotel member of staff appears. Says, "Oh dear, I will get the concierge. I'll get the concierge," and starts running around. And about 10 minutes later, as you're getting more panicked, Yevgeny appears and says, "Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Please come with me." And
No, it's
shortly
not fine. Have you seen my room?
Yes, it is all fine. Your things are all well. Your friends have decided to move rooms, and they will explain all. Please follow me.
I see. Okay.
Yes, I'm afraid you're now for sharing with Francis.
Boy, I'm not that bad a roommate.
And so, okay, eventually, Maxime, you join the rest, and they can fill you in on this change of plan. Yes, and unless you want to take exception, go, no, I'm going to have my own damn room and all the rest of it. It's entirely up to you.
No, I think eventually he'd understand that, for secrecy's sake, and it's unlike him to be sharing with somebody else. No offense, Francis.
Oh no, none taken.
And then he would sort of oblige.
Okay, well, it's cracking on. So if you are all of you going to this meeting at 6, is that right?
I was thinking about that, and I wondered if it was maybe a good idea for one of us to distract the gentlemen waiting for us and maybe lead them somewhere else.
I mean, you could take the chance of using the back staircase and maybe they don't see you at all. It's your call.
Or maybe they do see one of us and have reason to pursue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can certainly do that because
you'll give them the slip, Francis.
Yeah, I can lead them a merry dance, I think.
Is your intention, Francis, not to go to the meeting, just lead them on a merry dance, or lose them and then try and make the meeting?
The intention is to lose them and then go to the meeting.
Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, so you have an address. and I guess similar lines of I'll see you there, you know, and the three of you make your way through the staff exit at the rear of the hotel, and Francis flamboyantly walks out the front of the hotel going, I'm going this way, or whatever it is you're doing.
I'm fanning about with a map, like I'm looking for somewhere, and sort of like wandering around, doing the archetypal tourist thing to just try and draw their attention.
Can you make a spot hidden with a bonus die, because you kind of know what you're looking for, but
Yeah, let me have it. Oh yes, that's an 18, which is, that's a hard success.
Okay, you take a look at, you look in the cafe, you see that the two blokes that were following you earlier aren't there, and it's the other two blokes who presumably have been watching the hotel all day are still there. And as you head off, you do notice them getting up and following you. Okay,
Good, good.
I now you need to lose them, basically. So what role would you like to lose them with? Is it a navigate role? Is it a I'm a susceptibly cunning person role? Whatever it is.
Well, let me have a look at my skills and see what I've got.
How are you doing this?
Disguise,
are you using a social skill to create distraction, or
because I am a private investigator, I'm going to use psychology to see if I can outwit them.
Nice. Okay. Let's
because that is my best skill.
Let's have a psychology roll.
Come on, dice, don't let me down. Oh, okay, that's an extreme success.
Okay, I'm going to oppose that with their, we know what we're doing skill, which they fail because they don't know what they're doing very well. So you do make it. Okay, so yeah, you basically you do a bit of cunning backtracking and going through certain crowded places and so on, and you make your way to the chess club. Now, the three of you who have taken the backstreet route, as it were, get there slightly before Francis does. But as you kind of are standing outside, confirming this looks like the building, I think it's this one. You see Francis not far off, approaching you. So I guess you wait before you go inside.
Wait for him.
Yes, wait, and also look down the street behind him.
Okay. Well, as you're doing that, as Francis kind of literally is, 5 feet away from you, walking towards you, you see a figure kind of appear, round, kind of appear maybe around a corner or something through a group of people. There's a few people on the street, so it's hard to say where they came from, but it's a man, and he's looking right at you, Eleanor, and presumably the group maybe, but you looks into your eyes as you look directly at him, and he's running up to your group, catching up with Francis, who's kind of unaware that he's behind him. You see this man, he's got a bald shaven head rather than bald.
Point at him so that Francis can see.
So as you point, Francis, you turn around and see this figure approaching. You see that his face, see him a bit more clearly. His face has got blood on it. He seems to maybe have got some sort of wounds. He's got like a big kind of leather heavy coat, and this looks like is it like an army uniform underneath it? But he seems distraught, and you see this kind of like wildness in his eyes, and he looks directly into your eyes, Francis, and you've seen this look before. This is someone who is about to attack you.
Right.
And as you think about, you know, how you're going to tackle this,
Yeah.
he stops dead, you know, about, you know, 5 yards away from you and points his finger at you. And you see his eyes kind of roll in his head. And you suddenly feel this pain kind of coming across you as you make a power roll.
Okie dokie. All right, I
Oh,
forgot. What's
God.
my power? Crap. That's what my power is. Oh, good dice. That would be an extreme power roll.
You've got the good dice tonight.
Well, they were only really badly to start with, but they've got their eye in now.
You feel this pain, and it kind of like it's around your heart, but as you kind of like, you know, stand there not quite knowing what's happening, it kind of subsides, and you see his face kind of crumble, and it gets even more angry, and and you see sort of screams at you and launches himself towards you.
Scream back at him, get the truncheon out, and just whop him one with it.
Okay.
I'm having none of this.
Okay, so can I get a truncheon roll from you, please?
You can. This is where it stops working, isn't it? Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, there we go. That's a terrible roll. No, I fell.
Okay, so he kind of swerves. You know, you go to lamp him with the truncheon, and he swerves beneath the blow like some wily animal and grabs you by the throat and starts throttling you. He's just not making any sense coherently. He's just savage screaming. You can, and you know, if you didn't know better, you say this man wants to kill you, not just because you're a random person on the street, but he wants to kill you.
I just keep punching him repeatedly in the face until he lets go.
What are the rest of you doing?
Oh, I'm getting my sword cane out. I'm going to try and impale him while he's got Francis by the neck.
I'm going to go into the chess club. There's nothing for me here.
I'm going to scream very loudly.
Screaming. Okay. So right. So Francis, can you take a point of damage from the kind of being throttled but not, you know, strangled yet?
Yeah.
Maxime, what's your dexterity?
Dexterity alone is 55.
55. Okay, so Francis, you're going to get to act first before Maxime does. So he's throttling you, both hands around your throat.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Oh, now I know a guy wouldn't necessarily do this, but I'm a woman playing a guy, so I'm just going to knee him straight in the crotch.
See that?
Okay. Give me a brawl roll, please.
Oh, that's a hard success.
Okay. Okay, so he equals that. So
I can spend some luck to make it an extreme one.
No, you're the initiator though, aren't you? So
yeah, is he fighting back or is he?
Yeah, he's kind of like he's just trying to maintain his hold basically. So it's that kind of like strangeness between fighting back and maneuvering. What happens is you do that. You probably do a point of damage or so, but he doesn't release. He's not good enough to kind of make him release it. Maxime, at this point, you can come in with your sword cane. Are you kind of battering him over the head, or are you stabbing him?
No, I'm going to grab him from behind the shoulder and try and just stick him on. Okay. You can have a bonus die because you're ganging up. So
just try not to run me through while you do it.
Well, no, obviously. I'm aiming for him. Oh, wow. I love how both my 10s come up with 60. Okay. It's still a pass, but I'm adjust.
Okay, you get a hold of him. You are, so just to understand, you're grabbing hold of it and are you using your sword cane in this way, or are you just trying to pull him off?
No. I'm sort of getting him from behind with one hand, or rather that
Yeah.
Maxime right-handed, and just stick him through somewhere in the torso.
Sticking through is okay. So
Yeah.
so you do that. So can I have a damage roll for your sword cane then, please?
Certainly.
Go for the kidneys.
Oh, go with the default. There we go. Okay. Ooh, that is 10 damage.
Ooh, okay. It goes straight through his side kind of thing, because I'm presuming you're not trying to stab Francis at the same time, because the sword might go through.
No, that would make things a little bit more tricky.
Careful enough to kind of go through his side, so it kind of skewers through his side rather than and then doesn't skewer Francis. He kind of cries again in pain, and he says something in Russian that Francis you don't really understand. But Maxime,
can I try and understand, seeing as I do have a Russian skill?
You can try. I'll have a roll.
No point in learning it. Oh yes, I did. I made it.
Okay. You both think he's saying something about bastard or something. Something like that. You're not quite sure because there's lots of screaming. And you see this, and you see and you feel his hands squeeze again, and you take 3 damage.
Ow.
And you start to choke as this is all kind of happening as the sword goes through at the same time. Just and as you feel the squeeze and you start to choke, you look right in his face. You eye to eye. You see his eyes, and you see this kind of look on his face of like horror, and it's almost I don't know. Is it disappointment or something like that? And he fades and disappears. Can I have a sanity roll for Maxime and Francis, please?
I'm assuming my sword is still there, is it?
Yeah, sword is still there, yeah.
Okay.
No, I failed that.
Oh, yeah, I also failed quite badly.
Okay, so
do your worst.
Maxime 1 point.
Okay.
And Francis 2 points.
That's not too bad.
Maxime, you're holding the sword cane, it's anticipating, and then you just drop it on the ground. It's kind of like, what? I don't understand. And Francis, the pain around your neck and your heart's still kind of, a little bit dodgy. You just kind of like let out a kind of howl, kind of, whoa, what's going on? As doesn't make sense. People around the street are gathering around. What are you doing?
I'm going to see if Francis is okay, obviously, but also kind of trying to
run over all the excitement, so
keep the crowds not getting too close, and just say it's okay, everything's under control, nothing to see here, move along.
There's a lot of murmuring going on.
Yeah, I think we need to get into the building as quickly as possible and get off the street.
Okay.
Yes.
I shall kind of grab Francis, see if he can like stagger.
Oh yeah, just a bit winded, but I'll manage it.
Yeah, a bit hoarse, but yeah. Okay. You both of you basically, your hearts are pounding, kind of, the kind of adrenaline is kind of rushing through now, and you sort of have to sort of take a moment as when you get inside, just to take a breather and kind of calm down and try and rationalize what just happened. That did he, was this real? Was this another visitor? Or the lasting impression, particularly Francis has, is this man knows you.
And did I recognize
someone
him?
You've never seen him before. You've no idea who he is, but he knew you and hated you. It wasn't just random attack. He came to, you've seen the look before when you were a copper. He was there to murder you. And that just starts to play on you as you fiddle with your penknife.
You don't think it's somebody that you arrested or got arrested?
I don't recognise him at all. I'd have remembered, I remember most of the people I've arrested. If I'd arrested him, I'd know it. Plus the fact, if I'd arrested him, what on earth is he doing in Leningrad?
Yes.
People you arrest usually just disappear.
I mean, I've no idea who he is. No idea why he wanted me dead. The fact he disappeared like that is very like our visitors. I mean,
I almost thought he was Eleanor's brother with the army outfit and the blood, but obviously not.
Now you come to think of it, you know, it looked like an army outfit, but actually, when you, and Francis will probably be more like the one to confirm because you could see it front on, when the jacket kind of got shoveled around as he was like grappling with you, it was a Russian army uniform, not a British or German.
Really? So
Some
native
random-
Russian.
ah,
Come on, let's go inside and find Eleanor.
I'm sure
And
she's
maybe
having a wonderful time
Randy.
playing chess.
Eleanor, meanwhile, has kind of made your way around. What's your Russian skill like, Eleanor, language-wise? 40? That's pretty good. Can I have a roll, please?
Sure.
yeah, we were quick studies on the boat, you know. We
You
did
were?
really
I
well.
thought you were going to
Every
tell me like
lesson.
I've got about 5% or 10, you know.
Oh no, and that's one thing you might want to have a look at because the early setup was very generous, so we're all pretty
No,
good
that's-
actually.
No, that's fine. It's fine that you are good with language.
I'm tempted to blow a little free luck there and actually get a hard pass.
Okay, I'm going to say you don't really need to blow that
Okay,
on that.
then it's a
no,
pass.
it's only getting directions, asking some
Oh.
people around the building to where the chess club is. I just want to see whether I was sending on a merry dance around the building for a bit. So, but you know, you managed to get your point across pretty well. Chess is, you know, chess. There's only one chess room in the building. Once you mention the word chess, I go, yes, that way. And you get your way, and you find a room which is full of people playing chess, funnily enough, and especially when I find the right page. There are a number of people playing chess, but what's noticeable is when you first come in, there is a large group of people who are apparently spectating one particular chess game at the rear of the room. It's quite a large room, as you can imagine, you know, there's a bit of a buzz going on over there. So yes,
Is one of the players Sullivan?
you kind of make your way through and kind of, you know, jostle through the crowd a little bit. But, you know, they're all very polite, you know, they all move aside somewhat. You do notice, you now realize actually it's all men. And you kind of realize as soon as they realize you're not a man, they all become very gentlemanly and move and make space for you. And there are a few quizzical looks, but not in any way antagonistic or negative. It's all very kind of respectful and like, oh, a lady is here. This is marvelous. They cut apart, and you can see there's a young chap is playing. Well, what you would say is playing another guy who looks like most of the other people at the club, as in kind of middle age, got lots of facial hair, and where he is clearly the youngest person in the room. He is got a serious face, thick black hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and is playing against this chap. They've got a chess clock going, and this guy is making rapid moves. The other guy's taking his time, moving his piece, and the guy's just done kind of thing. He's clearly knows what he's doing. By the time you've kind of taken this all in, the rest of you have now found your way up the building and into the same room, and can see Eleanor watching this group at the rear of the room.
I think I'd like to find a seat and have a quick nip from my my hip flask.
Okay.
In fact, I owed you a drink, did I not? In fact,
You
I
did,
owe
yes.
you a drink. I'll see if I can find anybody, although judging where we are, I'm not sure there is anything. Maybe someone's got some vodka somewhere, I don't know.
There doesn't seem to be. This is like the equivalent of some role-playing club in the community hall in England, where you know you've been let use the room, but the catering facilities are boarded up. You know, that's the analogy that you would have here.
So a can of Coke if you're lucky. Okay.
So there's no drink available. However, as you're looking around, you do see that strange man from the park, Golovin, wander in at pretty much dead on 6 o'clock, and sees you all, and smiles and nods, and walks directly over towards where this group of people are playing and where Eleanor certainly is at the moment. And I think at that point, we will take a short break for a cup of tea, everyone. So please go and have a cup of tea. And if you're watching, now's a great chance to go and have a cup of tea. So we'll see you all in about 10 minutes or so. Okay. Bye-bye for now. And we're back. Okay, so we're in the chess club. It's all happening. Everyone's excited about this game that's taking place within this young chap and one of the regular members of the club. The game swiftly ends at this point. Clearly, the young man has won. Shakes hands with the challenger. The young man remains at the board while the other man gets up, leaving the chair free. Golovin, who has kind of gathered you all watching this young man, looks across the four of you as if to say, does anyone want to play?
Oh, go on. Maxime, you know how to play this game, don't you?
Way out of my league.
Knowing how to play and how to win is quite a different matter. He was doing things so quickly. But never mind, I see what you're doing. I suppose I'll have to step in for the party.
Okay, so well, you take a seat. The young man smiles and shakes your hand and resets the clock and starts moving pieces around the board. So let's have an intelligence roll, please.
That is a pass.
A pass. Okay. You're doing pretty well. He's clearly beating you, but you're doing okay. You make some good moves. You see him nod his head occasionally, as you make a move, as if in approval. And but it isn't very long before you can see the end is coming. And you kind of share a second's eye contact with your opponent and see, you can see that he knows your end is nigh. And at this point, it's your choice. Do you wish to, play this out, or do you want to concede?
I'll play it out.
Okay, you play that. You see with horror, every move he now makes just completely batters you down in seconds. And it isn't long before checkmate is called, and he shakes your hand and everyone gives you a muted round of applause for having a go. And
good game, sir. Good game.
He smiles and another challenger sits down. At this point, Golovin kind of draws you all away, nodding at you, Maxime, and takes you to the kind of far corner of the room where it's a little quieter, and sits down and shows you some chairs, basically.
The sit down would be nice. I'm still feeling a little bit battered, shall we say.
Are you all right, Francis? He really, he really went for you.
He did. I'll be all right, Miss Sullivan. It's just, knock the wind out of me a little bit.
As you are settling down and having watched Golovin during the game and so forth, you see, not like the man you met yesterday, the kind of wild, incoherent, frantic, tension building kind of, aura he was giving off. This seems like a calm, collected man enjoying the game, almost welcoming seeing you. And as he sits down and you sit around and look at him, you see all of that drain away and to be replaced with this kind of nervous, kind of twitching, almost wreck in front of you.
That's odd.
This kind of, you see the tension rise in him as he starts to speak. And he says, I have thought and will do everything I can for you. Krylov lives in the second house of the Soviets in Theatre Square, room 500. He's in Moscow now. And he will tell you what you need to know.
Could you make a note of that? Someone with a notepad and pencil.
Trying to. Could you just repeat that for me, please, Mike?
He says no.
You're
only once.
He says Krylov lives in the second house of the Soviets on Theatre Square, room 500. He's in Moscow now, he says. What else do you need to know?
What on earth you were saying yesterday? We couldn't really piece much of it together. You were talking about time travel.
Yes, Krylov sent me forward in time, yes, to get the notepad with the names. I came back with the pad. And I wrote the names on the newspaper I gave you, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You understand now?
Well, no. I mean, you gave us the newspaper, yes, it had our names on. It's this whole time travel thing.
It is unimportant. This is not what is important, except that it has happened and we must move on. We must move on. I was with Gottman and I was with him when he found the creature.
What creature?
Gottman.
It was just a moment in the water, like a god, a truth, like a new world.
Oh, did it look like? And then I described the one from the ship.
Even better than that, I have a picture.
Oh,
No.
Head face.
Shadows. No.
Okay.
It is Huber. Hubar. Beautiful and awful. He gave me Pavel, my brother, 1926. Yes. You have the same. Yes.
Oh, you've got a visitor
Dead
as
person.
well.
Pavel.
Is your brother dead and came back to you?
He is back now. Huber gave me him, like he has given you.
Huber.
Okay.
Gottman said Huber would be strong soon, far stronger, and all will have what I have. But he will defeat death for all. A new world. It will change. It will change you too.
Is there any way we can prevent any of this from happening?
why would we do that?
But I want to have Robert back.
Do you want to make a psychology roll at this point?
All of us?
Wherever he wants to.
Maybe.
Come on, little dice.
Another advance again. Nope.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard success.
Hard pass.
No,
Okay, have ticks if
notice
you.
nothing.
You. Well, I don't really need to tell you this, but just to confirm it, you get a sense he's not telling you everything. He's holding back, perhaps, something.
Really?
Well, at least it was a tick.
Just so you definitely know, as it were.
So, Mr. Golovin, what exactly is it that you're not telling us?
At that point, you realise why he's not telling you this, because you see his face change and he starts to mutter something about Gottman, and you see a fear come across him that it's actually not telling you anything because he doesn't want to, it's because he's afraid.
So is Gottman a person then? A friend of yours? Associate,
One of the
perhaps, is
names.
a better term.
It was one of the names, wasn't it?
Hmm.
And he said you must
Gottman
find
and
Gottman.
Anna were two of the people that he mentioned.
He says, Gottman, he has part of the answer. He knows the number, but he is not like us. He cannot be trusted.
What is this number?
You will need the number with the answer. I will give you the answer. I will give
Not
it
the
you
number.
tomorrow.
You said that yesterday.
Krylov does not have this. He does not know I did it. It is at my home. You can give it to him, or you can use it. You
Why don't you use it?
speak of pushing him away. That is your choice if you wish.
What does the number do?
You will need the number and you will need the sign to complete it. That will allow you to call him. Your answers you will find there.
Call Huber.
Yes, you see now. Yes.
So we need a number and a sign, and then we can call Huber, who will give us our beloved dear departeds back.
Well, he will give you. He has given you them already. Yes.
Well, yes, but they keep going away again.
Ah. He is not fully here yet. When he is here, his strength will be full.
Oh.
And all the loved ones will be returned forever, and all will change, for he can do this, for he is the servant of the Master, the Great One.
Is your brother here too now?
Sorry, say that again.
Is your brother here? Is he still here?
He is not here now. He comes and goes.
Right, so he comes and goes like ours do.
Yes, the power is not yet full. It is not permanent yet. When it is permanent, all things will change in his radiance. Krylov knows this. Krylov wants the power. He wishes to be first amongst them. I would tell him, I have to go. Tomorrow you come. You at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Come to Finsky Perilakov. 10-8.
Is there a bar at this place? Because honestly, the amount of information you're giving us is just too much to comprehend without a bloody drink.
It is my...
Your home. I don't know about you guys, but this is complete.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can piece together what he's saying, but it still makes no sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, from the sounds of things, he's on about as summoning some sort of divine power that's going to bring back everybody's loved ones from the dead permanently. Now, you know, I'm a God-fearing man. That's just not the natural order of these things.
It doesn't sound very safe or very. There are too many monsters and strange people attacking us for this to feel entirely like something.
Sullivan, have you had creatures attacking you?
Well, there was the thing on the boat, and someone's just tried to murder me in the street outside.
Is Mike disconnected?
No,
no,
He's back.
I was for a second, but I'm back. So
Okay,
I'm just listening in.
Sullivan, have you had creatures or people try to attack you?
Are you kind of catching him as he goes out now?
Yeah.
Okay. He turns to you and he says, No, I have not been seen. I am unimportant to this. Your role is larger. It is like treading water, like drowning in a lake.
Yes.
He nods at you and then he turns abruptly to go.
But what is like that?
You say to yourself as he disappears down the stairs.
Why do I get the feeling that everybody's using us?
Well, don't you see? They think that we can summon this thing when it is fully formed and everybody's loved ones will come back and everyone will think it wonderful. But as you said, whether you believe in God or not even, it's just not the way of things. I would hate anybody who's died to come back and have to relive any kind of feelings they have through death. They should be at peace.
And why doesn't Sullivan give Krylov the wizard the number himself if he's that?
Maybe Krylov doesn't feel him worthy.
Well, you see, from what he was saying, it's almost as if Krylov's trying to steal the power from this Huber, whatever that is.
Maybe.
Why does he want to talk to us?
That's what I mean. Everybody seems to be trying to use us for their own ends.
You're including the British government.
Oh, yes.
We haven't had any tours of anything, even slightly nefarious. I am feeling a little guilty, like I should have gone to have a look at this rubber factory, but I really couldn't bring myself to do something quite so dull.
Well, precisely. If there were specific things they wanted us to keep an eye on, they really should have said.
Well, they did. The slave labour on the canal.
Well, yes, that. So they obviously weren't that interested in the rubber factory.
Perhaps they don't know. You could get brownie points if you'd have gone and, you know, took your camera or something. You never know. But
why do I think I wouldn't have been allowed to take any photographs of it?
Oh, well, you never know. But I guess, you know, a factory in the middle of Leningrad is slightly more public than a canal being built in the middle of nowhere. But there you are. Do you want to head back to the hotel?
Yes.
We need drinks. We need a lot of drinks.
So,
have a bar.
Yeah. So are you stopping at a bar or are you going to drink in the hotel?
I think the hotel bar might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Just in case our little friends decide to have a go at our rooms.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling very safe in Leningrad, I have to say.
Are you using the rear entrance of the hotel or the front?
I will stick with using the front entrance because obviously they saw me leave by it. They're going to wonder how the hell I got back in the building if I don't go in through the front entrance.
I think.
Good idea.
I think we should go in via the back, though.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you do that, but you all reconvene in one of the interior bars, perhaps the one on the second floor, and can finally get a decent drink of whatever your choosing is, whether it's vodka or something else.
Oh, maybe some vodka, I think.
Okay.
I'm sort of getting a taste for it.
Yevgeny does stop you, Francis, as you come in and say that the men have not been back. In fact, they left shortly after you did, he noticed, and hasn't seen them since. So he thinks everything is fine. But obviously, please do call down in the night if anything, should they discover your new rooms, which are, I hope they don't, he says in the most slightly disconcerting way. But yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, right. So you're having a drink. It's early evening. You probably want to get some food at some point, or you can order at the bar and sit and have a chat. Do you wish to have? What I'm asking you is, do you now want to have a chat amongst yourselves about what the hell's going on, or do you want me to tell you what happens that evening?
Well,
if we're going to have a chat about what's going on, I think we need to do it in our hotel room, not in the hotel bar.
Privately.
Okay.
So, but I think it might be a good idea to go and have a chat about what the hell is going on.
And then come back down for dinner or something.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, are you having that chat now?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
Is everyone happy to have that chat now?
Yeah.
Over to you for chattage. While I laugh and snigger in the background.
You're an evil GM, Mike. Okay. What exactly is going on? What are we being dropped into here?
Well, it seems to me it's quite clear that we're going to be faced at some point with a choice of what we do with this answer and this number. I'm hoping that the specifics of that get clearer as we get closer, but just to point out, if we are to understand that our visitors are coming from this Hubar, I'm getting the impression that some of you think that we shouldn't call this Hubar.
No, of course not. Why would you think such a thing?
Well, that's what I don't understand. See, we have our loved ones. And from what I understand from this Sullivan, we might even get to keep them. And you're saying it's unnatural now? Is war natural?
Well,
No,
unfortunately,
How
yes.
did your loved one die? Was that natural?
He was killed in a car accident.
So do cars grow on trees? Are they natural?
Natural doesn't necessarily mean good. Let's not be mistaken here. There are an awful lot of natural things will kill you as well. So death, natural, unnatural, whatever. But
even if we do call this Huber, if Krylov is keen to get power from this thing, it is possible that our loved ones could come back, briefly be all wonderful, and then they could easily disappear again or turn into something horrendous thanks to Krylov.
Well,
precisely.
Mercy.
I don't think we know enough about this Krylov or his motives to trust him at all, but that's kind of not the point, is it? I mean, perhaps we can do calling on Huber and doing it our own way.
So you think it's a good idea for everyone who's dead to be pulled from their graves?
8 million people just died unnaturally in the last war.
I think it would be wonderful to have Robert back. Absolutely wonderful.
Are any of you particularly religious?
A bit.
That's why Francis was going on about this is not good.
What your motivations may be, but I'm just, okay.
Yeah, no.
It is, but she hasn't made that connection at all.
No,
to it
sure.
being...
No. It's more personal connection at this point in time. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, as much as I love my Uncle Harry, and as much as I wish he hadn't died, there is a natural order. People live, people die. As Maxime said, they should be at peace. They shouldn't be being pulled from their graves, no matter how much we miss them. For what reason, we don't know. I mean, this could all be as Maxime and Miss Sullivan have said, some horrible cruel trick to trick us into something that could, actually end up with them being tormented for the rest of their existence, not bringing them back.
Well, I've spoken to Mark, and it's horrible. The other side, he's treading in water, and he's not here, where he feels safer, and he knows he's with me, and I know I'm with him, and it's the way it should be. It's the way it should have been.
What we need to do then, rather than what you're suggesting and bring him back completely, is allow him to get away from this place that he's in and actually allow him to, if you're religious, I know, pass to the other side, whatever you want to call it, go to heaven.
Sorry, do you mean to insinuate that my Mark is not in heaven?
I have a horrible feeling none of them are in heaven at the moment. I suspect they may be in purgatory.
If they are currently in heaven, then God is definitely not the being I thought him to be, or what he's depicted as.
They certainly seem to be being... Robert said that it felt like no time had passed, but he still could remember there being other people in the place that he was, but he said it was dark. He didn't say it was lovely and peaceful and full of light and happiness like heaven's supposed to be. I think he'd much rather be here.
So, you're all agreed and know exactly what you're doing. That's good. Okay.
No, there's definitely a split divide.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you reach this impasse and kind of get to the point where, all right then, well, let's just carry on and see what happens. You head back downstairs to find something to eat. As you are looking to get a table, who should walk in but Oksana and Anastasia, the ballerinas from the performance last night.
Aye, Maxime.
Maxime's girlfriends.
Who see you and then big smiles come out. Oh, we came to find you and wanted to know what you were doing this evening.
Oh, well, not much. We were just going to grab something to eat. Would you like anything?
Oh, that's a very good idea. Can we suggest we take a walk over the Moskva River? There's a bar at the Balchug Hotel. It's very good, and they have food.
Oh, God, I just don't trust anybody. I
feel a little bit led along
if
by
you
these
wish.
two.
Oh, go on, let's go for a psychology roll. But if they're really good spies, we're not going to notice.
No.
I think they're certainly enjoying
Oh,
that.
no, that's a fail.
Well, they certainly seem, genuinely interested by you Westerners, and certainly they have, Maxime has caught their eye. But more than that, they genuinely seem interested in the rest of you as well. They seem that you get the impression that they think you are the kind of party people they would like to hang with in 1920s speak, clearly.
Wow.
Oh, it's only
You're just their cup of tea.
Samovar of tea.
Indeed.
Well, we seem to be at a bit of an impasse, so we might as well Charleston and drink gin.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
All right.
Okay. So are you all happy to let them lead you to the Balchug Hotel?
Yes, keeping an eye out, obviously, and keeping one hand on the penknife.
Okay. So you set out. They know the way. They make conversation as they go. They're both, particularly Oksana, fairly irreverent, and she does tend to make a lot of comments about, those Bolsheviks. It was much better, before.
Why is she not being arrested?
And they well, am I looking at the wrong day? That's why. So they take you there, and they walk across the bridge south of the Red Square over the Moskva River to the hotel, where there are there's food and chocolate and treats and gin and rum and all sorts of things. Ooh. And Oksana's English, as you know, is pretty good. You find out that she says she had a Scottish grandfather, and who only died last year, apparently, and said that my last name should be Bell, really. And but Anastasia's English isn't quite so good. But Oksana does a lot of rapid translation between, asking you various questions and commenting on the the Bolsheviks mainly, and how
very non-committal noises whenever any of this is going off.
How awful it is here, and it must be so much nicer in London, much nicer in London, isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice to go to London?
I will very much let it slip that I'm a married man with a small child by showing them photographs of my wife and son.
They think your son is very cute and all the rest of it, kind of thing.
He's just going to go back to London with an entourage, isn't he? Possibly stuffed into various suitcases.
She a few times, when you kind of. She asks you a question, one of your questions, you start to speak, and Francis, maybe you cut yourself off before you kind of say too much, and you get a feeling she kind of notices, and she sort of, and at one point she kind of leans into you and whispers like, "I'm not a spy." Laughs a lot, and
I just smile and nod. Yes, of course not.
And she just laughs herself till she starts crying with laughter about it, and then throughout the rest of the night makes lots of little references to being a spy and laughing a lot, basically. She talks about the Bolsheviks carrying on and her disdain for all of that. They know of a dancer. They mention a dancer called Lydia Lepokova, who married a John Maynard Keynes, some economist or someone, and the Lopokova's brother Fyodor is one of the chief choreographers at their theatre, as they talk more about the whole thing. I mean, you saw a bit of it last night, but you really saw much more glamoury kind of stuff. They kind of make it clear that there's the glamour of the ballet, but it's pretty hard work, and isn't all fun and games and all that kind of thing. And they while they enjoy it, they are clearly tired of it as well. But it's, you have a good evening, and at some point they say, well, we'll make sure you get back to your hotel, but we should do this again tomorrow evening. What do you think?
Well, it's been fun, hasn't it?
Well, it has been delightful, but I have an appointment tomorrow evening.
Oh, well, not to worry. I mean, we'll maybe call round the hotel, and if you find yourselves free, then we would be happy to let you see more of Leningrad.
All right.
Lovely. I will have done a couple of sketches of them whilst they've been talking, because I presume they're quite interesting with lots of expressive movements and kind of.
Oh yes.
So I'll present them each with a little sketch as a memento of the evening, so that they know.
Yeah, they are delighted with those, very much so, and they lead you back towards a hotel. and
Keeping an eye out for our little friends.
And on the way home, as things kind of quiet down a little bit, and the kind of the bubbliness has kind of now faded a little bit, Oksana kind of walks alongside you, Francis, and starts to tell you something, and says, I was followed by two men from the OGPU. They followed me home and stopped me at my front door. They wanted to know what we were talking about last night at the ballet. I didn't say anything. But they said to stay away from you. She smiles and goes, but here we are. And I don't know what their interest in you is, but they seem to have an interest in you, your companions here, more than the other foreigners on your tour. But I do not think they will act against you. You mustn't worry. But I thought you should know this. And I am quite angry about it. I do not think you should be treated this way. This is another reason why living here is not a good thing. She kind of leaves that hanging.
I will thank her for letting us know, but I am making absolutely no comment about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
While you're talking and slightly distracted, could the rest of you make a spot hidden roll?
Oh, 0, 0, 0.
Oh, not good.
Passed.
That's a pass, was it?
Yeah.
Maxime, yeah. Okay. You notice, Maxime, the only one who notices really, that you notice the two men are back, and they are following. But they're not being that discreet about it now. As soon as you kind of clock them, they kind of realize it, and they just kind of, move out from whatever shadow they were following you in and walk quite casually behind, some distance, but away behind you. But clearly they are just following you. Do you want to do anything, or are you just going to carry on?
I think
How far
there's
away
going
are
to be
we?
a confrontation if we're not careful.
You probably at least another. You got probably another 15 minutes to get back to the hotel walking.
I'm not sure we should cause a scene when we have. I mean,
Lovely ballerinas with us.
yes, precisely, because we're going to be leaving soon. They're not.
I see your
Kicking off
point.
now could get them into all sorts of trouble.
As the various thoughts go around your mind, you kind of realize it's pretty quiet now, and actually there's no one around, and you kind of get that sort of tension sort of mounting in you.
Well, let's just walk quickly. But be prepared for trouble if it starts. Just let's not start it ourselves.
Maxime, I guess you're kind of towards the rear as you kind of spotted them, and so unless you are purposely changing position, I'll assume you're still kind of nearer to them, as it were. So you hear their footsteps. You hear their footsteps following, but you then hear the footsteps picking up speed, and you know that they're gaining on you rapidly as a group. Do you just continue?
I've got my bread knife. I'm going nowhere without my bread knife. I might just kind of,
What I might do actually is spin around to meet them and say in Russian, "Can I help you, gentlemen?"
They they pause for a moment. They're literally just a few feet away now. They pause and look at you, and you can see you kind of caught them by surprise. But then they sort of take a beat, and then they just kind of brush past you, as if you're not their person of interest, and they move directly to Oksana and Anastasia. One grabs Oksana by the wrist and says something along the lines of, "You must come with us." Oksana clearly is like not happy about this and is kind of like, you're not sure whether she's about to punch him, scream, or faint. You're not quite sure, but it's clearly something is about to happen. It's whether you do anything before that.
Oh God, here we go. I say it's not nice to lay hands on a young lady in that manner.
Can I have a Russian roll, please?
Yes, I shall try and do that in there and try not to screw it up massively. That's me Russian. There we go. No. I'm doing it in a firm and commanding tone of voice.
They get the tone, but they look at you quizzically, and as Anastasia's arm is caught as well, and they're already acting aggressively, but they clearly puff up and kind of like, rah, what's this talking to us? Come with me, kind of like they're talking very rapid Russian that really only Maxime is really catching. That is, along the lines of, "You must come with us. No more arguments. This will not go well for you." Kind of clearly, Anastasia. Anastasia's a little bit more malleable. She's clearly a bit more like a deer in the headlights. But Oksana is clearly not having any of this, and you can't. Well, you get, as I said, she's you're not quite sure what she's about to do, but it's whatever she's going to do. It's probably not a good idea, but
Which one am I closest to? Because I shall kick him in the shins, because he's about to abduct my new friend, and I am a Westerner, and gentlemen do not behave like that. I can always explain to the police later.
Okay, they are.
Oh, diplomatic incident.
they aren't you, Georgina and Eleanor. You kind of realize as you this comes into your mind, you realize they aren't paying either of you any attention. So if you want to go and give him a kick, whichever one you want is fine. The one holding Oksana or Anastasia, your choice. But you're basically going to get a surprise because they're not watching you. They don't think they're watching the men.
Yeah.
And the two girls have got on their wrists, but then you are not in their thoughts at this point in time.
Well,
Probably wise in my case.
Well, I'm going to have a go at the one that's holding up Oksana, and maybe she'll join in, and we can, kick him off and make a run for the embassy or something.
Okay. So it's a surprise attack. I'm going to give you a bonus because you are basically going to sucker punch the guy in the shin, basically, or something like that.
So
break him down the front with your heels. That always gets him.
So let me do it. So fighting brawl, do you think?
Yeah.
And I've got. Oh, hello. Yes, lovely. I've got 25 in fighting brawl plus whatever you're going to give me as an extra, and I just rolled a 15. 15.
So just roll the D10 again, just in case you get a 0, really.
3.
Okay, so 15 is
normal success.
Normal success is not quite hard. I mean, there's no real need to, but if you really want to make your point, you could drop a few luck into that and make it a hard success.
I'm going to drop a few luck into that and really give it some. I've got lovely pointy-toed shoes on.
Okay, so from out of nowhere, you drift in and just wallop him on the leg so hard that roll a D3 damage.
That's 2.
Okay, hard enough that I'm going to make a roll and just see that he basically you basically knock his leg from under him enough that he actually falls over, releasing the grip on Oksana, who as you kind of goes down. The other guy is like just nonplussed for a second. What do the rest of you do? Because Oksana starts kicking him.
Go girl.
I might start puffing my own chest out at the one that's still standing or nonplussed and say to him in sort of quite quiet but stern, move away, obviously in Russian.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm going to stand over the gentleman who's down and basically attempt to say, stay down in Russian.
Okay.
And
Why don't you make, Maxime, why don't you make an intimidate roll? And Francis, why don't you make a speak Russian roll?
Yep.
Oh, my intimidate is really
Come on, little dice.
Such an adorable face.
Oh, boof. No.
No.
He gets your meaning. I just wanted to be how clearly he got your meaning.
But I just say it so politely. And
Are you just being too polite now?
it's 6 versus 2. It's not a good time to try this.
Okay. Oksana really not holding back, really booting him in the chest and wherever she can hit him. And
I might suggest that she might want to sort of like, it's all very well, but sort of like you've made your point.
You kind of gently kind of pulling her away. Okay, because it is this, and the other guy has kind of released the other one, and he's not quite sure what to do. In fact, make a psychology roll, and if you can, on this other guy.
Yes, that's an extreme success.
You see fear coming across him, and it's not. You kind of get the sense it's not really fear of you guys, but fear that maybe you shouldn't be doing this, and there are consequences. You can see it kind of filtering through his head, and he grabs the other guy off the floor, kind of manhandles him onto his feet, and they leg it off into the darkness, back the way they came.
Right.
Anastasia are all right, and just generally reassure them that it's all right. They've gone now.
Oksana is absolutely fine. She's like, yes, that's what we should do to all of them. And Anastasia's like, oh, she's just clearly in shock, kind of like, oh, like that kind of thing going on.
Okay.
Let's walk swiftly back to the hotel.
To the hotel.
Double time it back to the hotel. They said that there should be no. Well, Oksana said I'm not worried. They shouldn't have done that. I think they know. I think they're not meant to bother you. I think they're only meant to watch. So there won't be any comeback on it. Not yet, anyway. Perhaps we have enough time to gather our things, and we could maybe perhaps we should come to Moscow with you.
You're going to have a huge entourage by the time we get to Moscow. Yeah, this is hilarious.
You lot don't even know about that yet.
Ballerinas and old friends, oh my.
So how do we explain to Western that, oh yeah, we've just got these 2 ballerinas have come with us?
Western owes us, right?
That's true.
It's exactly what they wanted, inside information of the Russian regime.
Exactly. Yes, we are bringing them the most incredible gift.
We may have a third coming with us, if it's all right with the rest of you.
A more diverse representation of Russian citizenry for the British to be happy with.
I agree.
Western will love it.
This is dreadful. We can't leave these poor girls here to be attacked in the street by groups.
Well, yes, that is true, actually. That is very true.
Certainly, there's a certain sense of, there's a level of guilt, I guess, or association of guilt, to some degree, that, the OGPU's interest in them appears to be because of you. So, you know, there is a kind of that is a mitigating factor to some degree. But you know, you can say no, or you can just, you know, have them follow along. They don't necessarily need to be with you, but you know, it's entirely how much you want to get embroiled within it, I guess.
Is there a British embassy in Leningrad?
No.
So I think it might be a good idea, because we're obviously going to, you know, if people are going to just start randomly attacking us in the street, which they already have done, being with us might not necessarily be safer for them. But I would suggest that they make their way to Moscow, perhaps. And
I mean, yeah,
we can introduce them to, you know, at the British Embassy to try and get them out of trouble. But
well, they're very excited to hear that, and that's wonderful news. And they will pack and be ready when, but they will come tomorrow night, and just, you know, check what the situation is, and you know,
we've got some spare rooms. We can put them up in the house.
And there you are. So that's all good. So they you know, they thank you for an interesting evening, and make their way home. Probably well, they'll walk home. Although Anastasia mentioned something about a taxi, and Oksana mentioned something about not really having enough money to.
Maxime.
You can't possibly let them walk home.
Dear God, no.
After that.
You're right.
Taxi.
So they're seen safe enough in a taxi, and you get to before you retire, get to just review the itinerary for tomorrow. Which is
knock off the OGPU a bit more, attempt to avoid getting murdered by random strangers, play chess, meet lunatic.
Your third day in Leningrad, the morning and afternoon there is a tour of the Palace of Art, which is, you know, scheduled to take place all day. And then in the evening, there's a symphony which you can attend, which is the State Philharmony on Lasserie Square, with the Symphony number 2 and the Red Army Choir. So that should be a barrel of laughs. And
hey, I'm a Welshman. I do choirs.
Exactly. No, that should be good. So that's your kind of the itinerary for tomorrow. Obviously, you have your 6 o'clock third meeting with Golovin, should you choose to go to his house, and then just so you know what's coming, the day 4 is, I think, is when you're getting on a train to Moscow. So yes, in the morning of the day 4. Sorry, you have a day in. You have another day in Leningrad. Day 4. You have the Russian Museum, and then the night train to Moscow. So that's your next couple of days. Which I'm
Provided
sure
we can make it that far.
it will surely go swimmingly, and nothing at all will, you know, happen that will, you know, cause any problems with any of that itinerary in any way. And it will be plain sailing, clearly. Marvelous. So, does anyone, before we round up, anyone doing anything, needing to say anything, or you know?
Quick chat with Yevgeny just to make sure that nobody has attempted to get into the rooms.
You know, he confirms that no one has been back. He hasn't seen the 2 men. He has a feeling that they may have, you know, been out looking for you guys. But he'll keep an eye, and he will ring up to your new rooms should he get a whiff that they're actually back in the hotel tonight or tomorrow or whatever.
Excellent. Thank you. I think it's time for bed.
Okay, so it's time for bed. So with that, we shall draw things to a close for tonight, and we will be back same time next week for the next exciting installment of The Dead of Winter, and your further exploits and fraternization with the locals in Leningrad. And so thanks very much for playing. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you all again, same time, same place next week. Bye-bye for now. Cheerio.
Bye.